This spinning steel rod has ripped the clothes off a grown man's body in less than 1 second. It has shattered bones, torn limbs, and ended lives, sometimes in front of the victim's own children. And here's the terrifying part. It's attached to almost every tractor on Earth, right now, today. This is the story of the PTO shaft. Now, if you didn't grow up on a farm, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. So let me paint the picture. A PTO shaft, power takeoff shaft, is basically a spinning metal rod that sticks out the back of a tractor. It transfers the engine's power to whatever equipment is hitched behind it. Balers, mowers, grain augers. Basically, it's the reason modern farming works at all. It spins at either 540 or 1,000 revolutions per minute. That means this rod is completing over 16 full rotations every single second at the higher speed. And it looks harmless. Just a greasy metal tube spinning quietly behind the tractor. You'd walk right past it. But here's the thing nobody tells you until it's too late. That quiet spinning rod is one of the most violent machines ever built. And to understand why, we need to go back over 100 years. The year is 1878. Farming is brutal. Everything is done by hand, by horse, or by sheer willpower. Harvesting a single acre of wheat can take a man an entire day. Then engineers start asking a simple question. What if the tractor's engine could power more than just the wheels? What if you could take that raw horsepower and send it backward to run a thresher, a pump, a saw? And that's exactly what they did. The first crude PTO systems started appearing in the early 1900s. By 1920, the International Harvester Company made it a standard feature. Suddenly, one tractor could do the work of 20 men. Farming changed overnight. Productivity exploded. Food got cheaper. Populations grew. The PTO shaft quietly became one of the most important inventions of the 20th century. But nobody was paying attention to what it was doing to the people standing near it. Because right around this same time, something horrifying started happening on farms across America and Europe. And for decades, almost nobody talked about it. Here's what happens when a PTO shaft catches you. A farmer's loose shirt sleeve brushes the spinning rod. In the first quarter second, the fabric wraps tight. By the half-second mark, the person's entire arm is being wound around a steel rod, spinning at 540 RPM. Within 1 full second, their body is being slammed against the shaft, the tractor, and the equipment, over and over and over again, 16 times per second at high speed. Medical examiners have a term for what PTO shafts do to the human body. They call it degloving. I won't describe it further. You can look it up if you want. I wouldn't recommend it. And here's the detail that haunts me. It's almost always the victim's own clothing that kills them. A loose jacket, an untucked shirt, a dangling drawstring, even long hair. The shaft doesn't grab skin, it grabs fabric. And once it grabs, there is no letting go. By the 1950s, PTO shaft accidents were killing over hundreds of farmers every single year in the United States alone. Worldwide, the numbers were staggering. Children were among the most common victims because they'd play near running equipment while their parents worked. And people knew, farmers knew, equipment manufacturers knew, everybody knew. So why didn't anyone fix it? That question, that why, is where this story gets really dark. Here's the twist that makes this story genuinely infuriating. The solution existed almost from the beginning. It's called a PTO shield, basically a plastic or metal guard that covers the spinning shaft so nothing can touch it. Simple, cheap, effective. By the 1960s, manufacturers started shipping tractors and implements with these shields already installed. Problem solved, right? Wrong. Not even close. Farmers removed them. Constantly, routinely, almost universally. And honestly, their reasons made sense in the moment. The shields cracked in cold weather. They made it harder to grease the universal joints underneath. They slowed down the already grueling process of connecting equipment. When you're working 16-hour days during harvest and every minute matters, that plastic guard feels like an obstacle, not a lifesaver. So farmers would rip the shield off, toss it in the barn, and never think about it again. studies in the 1980s found that on some farms, over 70% of PTO shafts were running completely unguarded. The safety device existed. It was right there, and people were choosing every single day to work inches away from an exposed spinning rod that could kill them in under a second. This is the paradox at the heart of the PTO shaft story. It's not a story about a missing invention. It's a story about human behavior, and it gets even stranger. Because the people who removed the shields, many of them had already seen a PTO accident. Some had lost neighbors, friends, family members. They knew what the shaft could do. They'd seen what it could do, and they removed the guard anyway. Why? Because the human brain is spectacularly bad at assessing risk from familiar things. We fear plane crashes and shock attacks, events that almost never happen. But the spinning rod we walk past 40 times a day, that becomes background noise. Psychologists call this normalization of deviance. The more you get away with something dangerous, the more normal it feels, until the one time it isn't normal anymore. By the 1990s and 2000s, governments started getting serious. New regulations in the EU, North America, and Australia mandated better shield designs, ones that were harder to remove, easier to maintain, and more durable in harsh conditions. Engineering got clever too. Newer PTO shafts now have shielding that rotates freely around the shaft itself, so even if something touches it, it doesn't wrap. Some have automatic clutches that disengage if resistance is detected. A few experimental designs even have emergency stop sensors, and the numbers have improved. PTO fatalities in developed countries have dropped significantly compared to the 1970s. But, and this is a massive but, the problem is nowhere near solved. The World Health Organization estimates that agricultural injuries remain one of the leading causes of occupational death worldwide. In developing nations where older tractors without modern guards are still the norm, PTO shaft accidents are happening at rates comparable to the 90s. In the United States alone, farming remains one of the deadliest professions, and PTO entanglement is still in the top 5 causes of fatal farm injuries every single year. And here's the detail that should keep engineers up at night. The majority of these deaths are still happening on shafts where the guard was either removed, damaged, or never replaced. The same pattern, the same behavior. 70 years later, we have not solved this problem. We've just gotten slightly better at surviving it. Now, I could end this video with a safety lecture. Always use your PTO shield. Never wear loose clothing around machinery. And yeah, do those things, obviously. But the real story here is bigger than one piece of farm equipment. The PTO shaft is a perfect case study of something that happens over and over again in human history. We build something powerful. It works brilliantly. It transforms everything. And then we discover it has a cost, a brutal, violent, sometimes fatal cost. And instead of stopping to fix the problem properly, we just accept it. We normalize it. We did it with asbestos. We did it with leaded gasoline. We're doing it right now with things I probably shouldn't name in a YouTube video. The pattern is always the same. The benefit is immediate and obvious. The danger is slow and invisible until it isn't. The PTO shaft spins 16 times per second. It doesn't care about your experience level. It doesn't care how careful you think you are. It doesn't care that your grandfather used one for 50 years without a scratch. It just spins, and it waits. The only question is whether we respect it enough to keep the guard on. That spinning rod behind the tractor helped feed the modern world. It also took pieces of it away. And the gap between those two truths, that's where every important engineering story lives. If this story stuck with you, consider sharing it with someone who works with heavy equipment. Sometimes the most important safety reminder isn't a sign on a wall. It's a story that makes you feel the stakes. And if you want more stories about the machines that built and broke the modern world, you know what to do.